Well, good morning. Christ is risen. Well, my name is Melinda, and it is a joy to share the story of Easter with you today from the book of John, chapter 20, verses 1 to 19. Early in the morning, on the first day of the week, while it was still dark, Mary Magdalene came to Jesus' tomb and saw that the stone was moved away from the entrance. She ran at once to Simon Peter and the other disciple, the one Jesus loved, breathlessly panting. They took the master from the tomb. We don't know where they put him. And Peter and the other disciple left immediately for the tomb. They ran, neck and neck. The other disciple got to the tomb first, outrunning Peter, and stooping to look in, he saw the pieces of linen cloth lying there, but he didn't go in. Simon Peter arrived after him, entered the tomb, observed the linen cloths lying there, and the kerchief used to cover Jesus' head, not lying with the linen cloths, but separate, neatly folded by itself. Then the other disciple went into the tomb, took one look at the evidence, and believed. The disciples then went back home. But Mary, returning to the tomb after, stood outside the tomb weeping. As she wept, she knelt to look into the tomb and saw two angels sitting there, dressed in white, one at the head, the other at the foot of where Jesus' body had been laid. And they said to her, "Woman, why do you weep?" "They took my master," she said, "and I don't know where they've put him." After she said this, she turned away and saw Jesus standing there, but she didn't recognize him and thought he was the gardener. Jesus spoke to her, "Woman, why do you weep? And who are you looking for?" And Mary said, "Mister, if you took him, tell me where you put him so I can care for him." And Jesus smiled and said, "Mary." Recognizing the way he said her name, she yelled out in a joyful surprise, "Teacher!" And Jesus said, "Don't hold on too tight for me, for I have not yet ascended to God. Go to our brothers and tell them, I ascend to my Father and your Father, my God and your God." Mary Magdalene went, telling the news to the disciples, "He is risen. I saw the Master." And she told them everything he had said to her. This is our story. Thanks be to God.
Thank you. God be with you.
And also with you, Nick.
So Easter always is, for us ministers, like the one that has the most weight to it. You'd think it'd be Christmas with all the extra cultural hoopla, but like Easter's got, like there's some pressure to it. And so I went to my favorite cafe this week to try to figure out what I was gonna say to you. Because I wanted something fresh, I wanted something that I was excited by. I was like, okay, what can I do? And I had this idea. It's this idea that's been cooking for like 10 years, because I saw this one guy do a bit on a painting, and I was like, oh my God, that's an Easter sermon. And so I went to the cafe ready to make this bit a whole sermon, and then quickly realized that this is not an Easter sermon. And I was like, it's not gonna work. They will know I'm forcing it, it won't do it. What do I do? And so I just sat there like staring at the screen, willing an idea to come into existence. And that's when I remembered this thing that one of my teachers, one of my mentors would do, not just when he was stuck, but he would just do it all the time for his sermons. He would go up to strangers and be like, "Hey, if you could hear a sermon on anything, what would you choose?" And he would preach on whatever they would say. And he got some like wild sermons out of it. But it would always kind of work. And so I was like, all right, I'm going to trust what John does. I'm going to try it out. And so I went up to the barista. And she was like, how can I help you? I'm like, oh, girl, you have no idea. Like, super weird question for you. I'm a pastor, and I got to say something on Sunday. If you could hear an Easter sermon about anything, what would you want to know about? And it makes sense that I would ask her that, as I was asking her, because my job is to try to speak to you. And if you, being like the collective random stranger at the cafe, has questions about Easter, like that's the kind of stuff that I want to speak to. And so I wasn't really sure how she would respond. And then like the most beautiful thing happened. She was like, I don't actually know the story of Easter. Like, I know he died and rose again, but I don't actually know the story. And so I told her the story. I kind of gave her the spiel that Mel just gave us, and then continued on from there about how later on he appeared to the disciples in an upper room. And then later he appeared to the people on the beach. And then he appeared to the disciples again over supper. And then again to people going on a trip. And she paused and she's like, wait. And she had this look of like both wonder and amusement on her face, which is like the perfect thing to feel when you experience Easter. And she said, wait. So he's not just alive, but he's on the loose? And I was like, boom, there's a sermon right there. Because I love how she phrased it. Because it's exactly what he is. He's on the loose. What all those stories about Easter tell us, not just the one that we heard, but every single one after that, and we'll get into those in the weeks to come. But what all the stories tell us about the risen Christ, what they all do is remind us of something really, 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 really important. This thing that gives Easter its power and its meaning, the one thing that we actually need to hear today. Because what Easter is about, what all this is about, why we're doing all this, it's not because of something that happened. It's because of something that's still happening. What all this is about a truth about our reality, about this universe we call home, about how we live within it. Because if Easter is about anything, yes, it's about how Jesus rose from the grave. And yes, it's about this divine declaration and validation that love and justice and mercy and grace and compassion are the ways of the universe. And yes, it's about how love prevails. And yes, it's about how on that cross, Jesus befriended death so we don't have to be afraid of our endings. And yes, it's about how God is in divine solidarity with us in all of our pain, in all of our sorrow. Yes, it's about all of that. But it's also about what all of that combines to mean. It's about something so much bigger than that. Because if we zoom out, it brings us to the truth that the barista saw. What Easter tells us isn't just that Jesus is alive. It's that he is on the loose. Because Easter is that affirmation, that beautiful affirmation, that despite all the evil and violence in the world, despite the worst things happening, despite the hurt done to us and by us, despite how unworthy and not enough we sometimes think we are and how all of this is just a lost cause, Easter is that divine affirmation that God is still here, doing what God does, showing up where there is death and despair, wherever life, light, and love are being challenged, wherever there is evil, injustice, and oppression, wherever people are being separated from God and from community, wherever human dignity is being erased. What Easter tells us is God is still here in all of those places, still showing up and doing what God does. Creating, repairing, restoring, liberating everyone and everything from sin, transforming it all in and through love with beauty and joy, creating this world where everyone has enough and everyone has a place. That's what we're doing today. That's what all this is a celebration of. That's what this is all about. Easter is that radical truth that this is God's world. And God will never give up on us. And I don't know about you, but I kind of need to hear that. I've got a lot of stuff going on in here that's not quite healed, that I'm not quite at peace with, that I haven't quite overcome. I need to know that God can still work in here and help me overcome those things that I'm struggling with. Anyone else? Yeah, put your hands up. It's all of us. We all need to know that God is still at work because we all need things resurrected and healed and made whole in here, right? And then out there, right? We need some resurrection. We live in a world that is just so destined to go to hell in a handbasket. We live in a world where people are building walls instead of tables, where people seem intent on doing those things, where so much death, so much destruction, so much evil and injustice is becoming normal. So normal, we just kind of be like, yeah, that happened. Yep, that happened. And we become numb to it because we become desensitized to it because it's just how the world is. And we need some resurrection. We need some Easter right now because we need to know that's not how it'll always be. We need to know that's not where it's going to go, that there can be something different, something else. Anyone need some of that right now? Yeah, put your hands up. Yeah, that's why we need Easter, because we're all in the same boat. We're all people struggling with despair and death and devastation who need to know that there could be something more than this. And that's why we do this. That's why we celebrate Easter. Because it's not something that just happened 2,000 years ago, but it's something that is still happening. It is the celebration that resurrection happens. That the worst thing is not the last thing, that death is not the end, that it's too early to give up, that love will prevail, that we can always have hope. Because God is still here bringing life from death, creating a world that we know is the one we should have. This world where everybody has enough and everyone has a place. Easter can change everything if you let it. Because once we see this, once we see that Jesus is on the loose, everything begins to change. Because it's so much bigger than he's alive. It's that he's on the loose in here and out there. And so we don't need to be afraid because love and life will prevail. And as much as we could leave it at that, we would be mistaken if we stopped there. Because the thing is, at the end of the day, Easter isn't just an invitation to believe it. It is an invitation to join in on it. The invitation here, what we're doing here this morning, isn't just to say, hey guys, believe in resurrection. It's actually bigger than that. It's more important than that, actually. It's to say, hey, why don't you come and join in on it and become people on the loose, to become people of resurrection, which isn't to be perfect, which isn't to say we're right and we have all the answers and be in control. It's something way more beautiful and elegant than that. It's to go out from here and be people who allow resurrection to happen in here and help it happen out there. It's to be people who join in on that work of God, showing up wherever there is death, despair, and devastation, wherever life, light, and love are being challenged, wherever there is injustice and evil, wherever people are being separated from their communities, wherever someone is being told you're not enough and you're not worthy and you're not okay just as you are, wherever voices are being silenced. And we go out from here and we be the proof that resurrection happens. We be the proof that hope and love will win. We be the proof that another kind of world can exist and other kinds of people do exist. And we go and do that hard, divine, and beautiful work of entering into death and darkness and sorrow and making resurrection happen. That's the invitation. And the promise of our faith is that it's there in that work. That's where you find yourself, because that is what you are made to do. That's what it means to be human, is to partner with God in this work of renewing and restoring the universe until everyone is brought in, until everyone is forgiven, until everyone is loved, and everything is made new. That's what we're doing here. We're celebrating and we're receiving and we're saying yes. We're gathering today, because the tomb is empty, but also to find where Christ is showing up and join in on that work of holy defiance and resistance, because we know something else is possible. Something else could happen in us and around us. So my friends, this time is for you. It's for you to join in on that work. And as we sing this next song, maybe your job right now is to look inward and find out where in you resurrection is happening. Or maybe for you, it's a chance to look at what's happened to people you know or the world around you and see where Christ has been on the loose. To feel the power of Easter and then join in on it. To muster the courage to go up and be people on the loose. To be people of defiance and resistance who choose to join in on that work of Easter until everyone and everything has been renewed. It really is that simple. And it really is that powerful. All we have to do is say yes and live like what we believe is true. And so may you have the courage to see it, may you have the courage to believe it, and may you have the courage to live it. And to that we all say, Amen.